Welcome to the Weekend Wrap here on 5 News Plus. I'm Morgan Wrigley. A lot happened this week, from the presidential visit to local crime headlines that have shocked our area. We'll get the chance to talk about the big stories more in depth. But first, the largest university in the state has ushered in a new era after hiring Ryan Silverfield as the next Razorback football head coach. Silverfield was coaching at the University of Memphis, where the Tigers went 29-9 in the last 3 seasons, including the 32-31 win over Arkansas on September 20th. Overall, he was 50-25 in his 6 seasons at U of M, including 4 bowl wins, the most a Memphis coach has won in program history. Silverfield's contract details were released this week after we sent a Freedom of Information Act request, and while it's technically preliminary, the numbers are interesting. The 5-year contract went into effect November 30th, 2025, and expires December 31st, 2030. His salary remains the same throughout 5 years, set at $350,000, but, quote, another annual compensation starts at $6.15 million in his first year, going up every year. Total combined, Silverfield is set to make $33.5 million over the 5-year contract. And his contract, at least on the surface, is higher than his predecessor, Sam Pittman, who was offered around $25 million for a 5-year deal. Our reporter Bo Russell did some digging on how much the Razorbacks have spent on coaches since 2018.
A new era of Razorback football is coming with a price tag. Arkansas's new head coach is set to make around $33.5 million over 5 years. Ryan Silverfield's salary and other compensation climbing from about $6.5 million to nearly $7 million each season. But before fans look ahead, we ran the numbers on what Arkansas has already spent on coaching since 2018. From 2 rough years with Chad Morris to the ups and downs with Sam Pittman, every game came with a price tag. The U of A spent about $13 million on games won since 2018, but nearly $20 million on games lost.
Wow, I feel like that's just ridiculous. It's not a good use of our money.
In 2019, the Hogs won just 2 games, but head coach Chad Morris still made $4 million that season. That's not including his buyout. That means the Hogs spent roughly $330,000 that year every time they lost.
We could probably help build a new parking garage with that.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
yes,
parking.
new parking.
Parking's a little annoying.
Fans are hoping, praying, that Silverfield might finally make the millions of dollars spent worth it.
I mean, that's just got to change, and hopefully that starts with Silverfield.
The good news is this isn't costing taxpayers. While the losses may have taken a hit to Hog fan pride, they haven't hit Hog fan wallets. And speaking of Hog pride, Silverfield made his first official statements as the U of A head coach on Thursday.
From Darren McFadden electrifying fans to Woo Pig Sooie throughout the Ozarks. This program is built on pride, resilience, and toughness. And it's time to bring it all back.
Silverfield talked about his vision for the future of the program under his leadership and his priorities of family and football. Now, while initial fan reactions to Silverfield's hiring were a mixed bag,
we thought this would be a good way to show our disappointment.
It's disappointing that we can't get a candidate that we want.
We just want what's best for Arkansas, and we want to enjoy our football program. We don't have a pro team. Arkansas is all we've got.
Silverfield was a great offensive line coach in the American, but he has not proved it yet, so time will tell.
The tide seemed to shift, though, after news of Silverfield flipping in-state top recruits, and by Thursday, there didn't seem to be anything from Silverfield other than pride.
Probably talks for about 20 hours straight to these guys, just text message talking and just, talking all about it. But I think part of it, some of these guys had built relationships over time, over the years, just getting to know them, and then just selling them for the vision of what we're going to do and what we're all about. It started because they have a bunch of in-state pride. And that was one of the reasons that drew me to this job anyways. Like the guys that sit there and say, I want to be part of this program because this is home for me.
On Monday, more than 700 people packed into the Crystal Bridges Museum for a conversation with former President Barack Obama. It was part of the new Building Bridges lecture series celebrating the American spirit of meeting in the middle. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer was there and shares how the 44th president says civic engagement and young people are key to America's future.
It's good to see you.
Former President Barack Obama walked on stage in Bentonville to a warm and loud Arkansas welcome.
But you didn't tell me it gets this cold in Arkansas.
When asked what the American spirit means to him, the former president says it starts with the belief that everyone has power.
Your fate is not predetermined by caste or, whether your folks are important. It's just you can make something. That individualism combined with this sense of, and together we can do some things.
And he says every generation plays a role in reinventing that spirit.
There's a process of self-invention that is uniquely American, that you just don't see in other places. That sense of each generation deciding, you know what, that doesn't look right to me. I think we can make it a little bit better.
On patriotism, Obama says loving your country means being honest about it, even when it's hard.
Both the left and the right sometimes got confused in thinking that it was not possible to take an honest look at America's flaws and be critical of it and still love it. And that's a mistake.
He also warned that the country is facing real political strain.
I think it is true that we are more divided and that our democracy is more unstable than any time in my lifetime.
Still, he says change is possible.
I don't think you can just fix it by fixing political rules or electing, one party over another. That's not going to solve the entire problem. I think we have to change some of the civic habits.
For many in the crowd, the timing of his message couldn't have felt more important.
Excited to hear him talk and, maybe even some words of encouragement for what's going on in the world.
And when asked what gives him hope, Obama didn't hesitate. Young people.
I am hopeful as long as young people don't succumb to cynicism or despair.
In Bentonville, covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
Obama's interview with Olivia Walton lasted over an hour and touched on everything from social media to marriage advice. Here's a little bit of that conversation.
Part of it is we have political rules that encourage polarization. I was mentioning to some folks over lunch, political gerrymandering has now created a situation where districts are drawn with such precision that if you're in a Republican district, you'll never lose to a Democrat. So all you have to worry about is not being primaried by somebody even further to the right than you. And if you're in a Democratic district, all your concerns are about are the most extreme elements of your party. And then social media compounds that, because the folks who get the most attention on social media are the ones with the most extreme, absolutist, maximalist positions on every single issue. And they make the most noise.
Do you have any marriage advice for this?
Oh, Lord. well, let me say this. Michelle has all kinds of marriage advice. And I basically just agree with it. The thing that Michelle and I think would agree on is I don't think there's a magic secret to it. We fundamentally respect each other. And even when we have argued, had differences, etc., there's been an irreducible sense of this person is extraordinary, the thing we've built together is extraordinary, and of course it's hard because human relationships are hard.
Best and worst parts about living in the White House?
This is a tip for everybody listening, because we live in an age that puts so much currency on fame and likes and Instagram and all that. Anonymity is not bad. The ability, what you miss most acutely and you don't fully understand is the pleasures of just walking around with people or taking a drive or going into a park or what have you, and nobody's paying attention to you. But I would have this recurring dream in which I would just be taking a walk and nothing was happening, and I'd realize at some point that nobody knew who I was and there was no Secret Service. And I'd just sit on a bench and sip on a soda pop. And it was really nice. And so that's the thing I think that was hardest.
For the full interview, you can find it on demand here on 5 News Plus or on our YouTube. Up next, more about a former Crawford County Library Board member accused of conspiring to kidnap her own daughter and having her tied to a tree to reportedly teach her about online dangers. More on that after the break. Welcome back to the Weekend Wrap. A top story this week that's garnering attention from across the country. A former member of the Crawford County Library Board has been arrested on charges of conspiracy to kidnap her own daughter. Now her husband is sharing their side of the story, explaining that her intentions were not malicious.
Tamara Tammy Hamby turned herself into the Crawford County Jail Wednesday. 5 News was there after her release. Hamby, David Koch, Nico Austria, and Shannon Childers are accused of staging the kidnapping of Hamby's adult daughter, who has an intellectual disability. Childers works as an in-home caregiver for Hamby's daughter.
Without my knowledge, but my wife, with her aide and a couple of their friends, tried to do an intervention.
Jeffrey Hamby says his wife staged the kidnapping in an effort to stop their daughter from talking to strangers, posing as a celebrity online.
The predator developed a relationship with her, and he said he was Luke Bryan, the singer, and my daughter adores him. He'd had her put tape on our cameras at our home because his people were coming to pick her up to take her to him.
According to an arrest warrant, Austria knocked on the Hamby's door November 17th and told the victim he was with Luke Bryan, asking her if she wanted to meet him. Investigators say the victim agreed and got in his car. Austria and Koch drove her to a nearby field, according to the warrant, demanding money and tying her to a tree, with Tammy Hamby planning to, quote, rescue her. Deputies say the daughter was zip-tied, tried to escape, and was tackled and threatened by the men before eventually freeing herself and running to a nearby house, where a resident called police.
Ultimately, it turned into a situation where the daughter was severely frightened, was scared.
Crawford County prosecutor Kevin Holmes says all 4 suspects face charges of endangering the welfare of an incompetent person and conspiracy to commit kidnapping, which carries a penalty of 10 to 30 years in prison if convicted.
These aren't hardened criminals. These aren't people that have any criminal record whatsoever. But I mean, they made horrible decisions, and those decisions have consequences, and that's why we're in the situation we're in today.
Tammy resigned from her position on the library board and is expected in court on December 10th. Jeffrey Hamby tells us the Arkansas Department of Human Services currently has custody of their daughter, and the couple's working to get her back with a hearing in about 2 weeks. The Sebastian County Sheriff's Office is investigating the death of a woman and her 6-year-old twin children. Investigators found their bodies inside their home just south of Fort Smith in the town of Bonanza, and deputies have not said much, but did confirm all 3 had been shot. 5 News reporter Bo Russell reported on the initial information we heard on Thursday.
At about 9:30 Tuesday morning, the Sebastian County Sheriff's Office was called to a home on 1st Avenue in Bonanza for a welfare check. It's still unclear who made that call. Inside the home, law enforcement found Charity Powell and 2 children dead. Deputies say all 3 had been shot, and Powell's family said the children were her 6-year-old twins.
2 of them, 6 years old, that never done anything to anybody. Perfect, beautiful children that will never take another breath.
Powell's father says his grandchildren had been baptized just a day before they were shot and killed, and now all he has are memories and photos.
I have lots more pictures of them that are very valuable to
She
me.
just got
A lot
baptized.
more than there was yesterday before they died.
Yeah.
She was just baptized.
John Powell, Charity's son, says they haven't heard from law enforcement yet, but that they want answers.
She had me when she was 16. And I've got good memories of her, you know. Even them babies, I held them the first day they was born. And would watch them and take care of them, and it's just rough to hear what happened to them.
The Sebastian County Sheriff's Office declined an on-camera interview, but says detectives are still working to piece together what led up to the shooting.
Investigators say they're still piecing together the timeline, and so far, they've not released any information about a suspect or motive. There are questions surrounding the information released so far. According to court documents and Charity's family, there was a divorce court date on December 2nd, the day the deaths are thought to have occurred. There's been a motion to dismiss the divorce case following her death. We'll share more on this tragic story as we know more. Well, earlier this week, President Trump announced what he is calling a trust fund for every American child starting next 4th of July. These Invest America, or Trump accounts, are tax-deferred savings tools under a provision in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. They're available to all children under 18 with a Social Security number. Anyone, family, friends, philanthropists can contribute up to $5,000 a year. The government will also provide one-time seed contributions of $1,000 to babies born between January 1st of this year and 2028.
Trump account should grow to be worth many thousands of dollars by the time the child is 18 and even more by the time they are 20 or even 30 years old. We think it's going to be something really unique and really special.
We believe the smartest investment that we can make is an investment in children.
Well, Michael and Susan Dell announced they are
fantastic.
contributing more than $6 billion to Invest America. They're giving $250 to the accounts of 25 million children under age 10 in zip codes where the median household income is $150,000 a year or less. Well, how do you like your turkey? Thanksgiving might be over, but after the break, we'll hear from one Huntsville woman who took a different angle for Turkey Day this year and got millions of social media views because of it. Welcome back to the Weekend Wrap. You may prefer white meat or dark meat on your plate for Thanksgiving, but what if you cut into the turkey and found red velvet? Well, one baker in Huntsville's turkey got millions of views after she posted her creation on social media. Take a look. At first glance, you might be convinced this is the real thing, but one slice proves otherwise. What looks like a delicious Thanksgiving turkey is actually a chocolate cake made by Hannah Ryder.
I was sitting on the couch with my family and my brother was like, "Oh my gosh, you're going viral." And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Ryder, the owner of Hannah's Cake Co. in Huntsville, Arkansas, is no stranger to hyper-realistic cakes.
I made like a rack of ribs, a Halloween candy bucket, so I really like pushing myself and thinking outside the box.
But this one made quite an impression. Now more than 3.5 million views and counting on TikTok.
Never in a million years did I think that it would blow up like that.
Thousands of people expressed their surprise and for some, dismay at what was inside the turkey.
People thought it was turkey, so when they saw the chocolate, they thought it was mold. A lot of people said caviar.
And others didn't believe it was real at all.
They also said like AI, which that's a big compliment, so I'll take it.
For Ryder, going viral is exciting, but what matters most is sharing joy through her craft.
If you ever have dreams, don't be afraid to go for them because, 3 years ago when I started this business, I never would have thought I'd be here today. Something I was passionate about kind of turned into a business for me.
And she says the video is bringing a boost to her small town bakery, along with requests for her next creation.
A lot of people were asking me for like a Christmas ham, so that's definitely in the works.
We'll just have to stay tuned to see what she carves up next. In Huntsville, covering news where you live, Morgan Wrigley, 5 News. Well, on Wednesday, we told you about new plans to rebuild and reimagine one of Fort Smith's oldest buildings. 2 fires damaged Bricktown Brewery and Adelaide Hall in 2024, leaving the Garrison Avenue site empty. The structure has been part of Fort Smith since the 1800s. The original 3-story building burned down in 1885 and was rebuilt by then-Governor William Fishback. Well, now Griffin Properties of Fort Smith is stepping in to rebuild. After the latest set of fire and misfortune, the company has announced its plans for a new 2-story structure. They say the goal is to maintain the building's historic look while creating a space the whole community can enjoy.
This rebuild is a win for the whole community. Both Griffin Properties and Bricktown are so excited to be investing in Fort Smith and bringing the structure back to life. It will substantially resemble the last structure. The first floor will be a dining hall and the upstairs will be Adelaide Hall once again.
Griffin Properties says construction will begin next week and is expected to wrap up by the beginning of 2027. Well, our Vault segment of the week comes to us from over 40 years ago in Benton County, as the nation cut back on food stamp eligibility under the Reagan administration in the 1980s. Officials in Benton County began a workfare program where able-bodied residents in need were given food stamps in exchange for some plain old hard work.
Not everyone who works for Benton County is on the payroll. Some are food stamp recipients who trade work for food stamps. The program is called Workfare. It's only 6 months old in Benton County and has already been labeled successful. County officials say workers like these have made the Workfare program work in Benton County. They say if the program was implemented across the nation, it would save the federal government millions of dollars.
I'm overjoyed. I had no idea that it would be so dramatic, so quick. And my concern mostly was not just the fact that we get some people to work for nothing, but the concern for the individuals themselves.
Judge Norwood says Workfare results show up in unemployment charts. Unemployment in Arkansas for the month of June figured 9%, while Benton County reported 5.3% unemployment. The benefits of capable workers who refuse to work are taken away. Gloria Salkill receives $241 a month in food stamps to support her 4 children. In return, she works 71 hours.
I don't mind it. I haven't worked around an office before, so I get to learn things that I don't know about.
Some food stamp recipients have proved such good workers the county has hired them permanently. County officials say Workfare helps the federal government, the county, and most importantly, the worker. Reporting for the News People from Benton County, I'm Wendy Burkeen.
Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Weekend Wrap. We hope you have a wonderful weekend and join us again next week.